Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Double Tap, and this is Aussie Game Rants. Of course, as always, I'm joined by my partners in crime, Shoggsie23 and JimmyD. On the topic of alternatives, one of my favourites that has been proposed, the South Australian Attorney General John Rao proposed this one, is a restrictive classification system. Now that sounds horrifying, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I know.
It sounds like, no, don't take my guns, kind of thing.
But for me, it sounds quite good. So the description actually is that there's only a distinction between for kids, for adults. That is the classification.
Oh, that'd be great.
Actually,
Yeah.
you know what?
Here, you can have this. Here, everyone can have this.
Yeah, that's, you know what, rather than having this M, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Surprising.
All I've got for it is, yeah, actually, that would probably work a lot better than the current classification system.
So, one, you basically just need ID to get it. One, and the other ones would be fine.
Yeah. So all your PEGI, I dare say even the M stuff would be in that.
They could go as far as M.
M. Yeah, it would be fine
I was
for
going to say some of the
everyone.
MA stuff would be bumped up into the equivalent of the R8.
I'd say every
stuff.
MA would be R18. Maybe even the M's would be up into the adult
Some
only
of-
class.
A division through that.
There would,
section
and that would
there.
come down to the classification words. But I think that is actually a really inspired system. It's very simple. It's not long-winded. It's a very nice breakdown. You can have this. You can't have this.
It's a simplified version of what we've got.
It's mind-blowing how simple it is and how effective it could be.
You just mash them all together instead. It works.
Exactly, it works. It really does. I mean, that would work for everything. Skylanders, for everyone. Witcher,
for everyone.
yeah. Witcher, adults.
Kids can't have that kind
Yeah,
of thing, you know.
I mean, it's very common sense based as well. You look at certain games. Witcher, kids can't have this. Let's be honest.
Yep,
Mortal Kombat X, kids can't have this.
Bloodborne. Kids cannot have this. They will have nightmares for weeks.
Not only that, they'll be very rage induced. That is where video games cause violence.
But yeah, no, that would... I've got nothing to say to that. Like, that's literally probably the best idea of a classification that you could have. Here I am sitting there trying to argue that we need a more detailed R18, but then you sit there and you look at that,
it's a yes/no.
That opens up for everything.
It's very black and white then.
You could have your games with this ultra-violence and all that kind of stuff. You could have games like Hatred and stuff like that and be like, that's not for kids.
It's a very simplified version. I think that's what's so striking about it, is the fact that everyone, you know, obviously in Australia we've had MA15+, R18, restricted content, all these kind of things, and we're trying to break it down further and create more classes and more options, and it's getting more complex. How about we take a step back and do what John Rao has said? Simplify.
Keep it simple, stupid.
That is an incredibly smart way of looking at it. And it baffles me that me, you, or anyone hasn't actually thought to do that. Where we keep on thinking, detail, we need to break this down so that kids can't have this. Well, it's easy. You just slap a kids can't have this sticker on it.
Exactly.
Nice big red no.
You need ID to purchase.
Yeah. It would also stop a lot of like these kids who play, you know, Call of Duty, Battlefield, all this kind of stuff, getting access to these games and then, you know, screaming out F you faggot and all this kind of stuff.
And other language, yeah.
And, you know, far worse language than what I've just said. To, you know, this 23-year-old who's just there to enjoy the game, having a bit of fun, and then you've got this rage-induced kid, you know, having a go at him. This would stop a lot of that stuff. And if there are kids on there, the only way they could have gotten it is from their parents.
Alright, so let's run down this list a little bit and see if we can find any tripping up points. Mortal Kombat X. Kids, adults.
That's definitely an adult.
Definitely adults.
Witcher.
Adults.
Definitely an adult game.
Mario Kart.
Definitely a kid's game.
Splatoon.
Definitely a kid's game.
Great.
But what's something that might lie in the middle ground?
Let's talk about Fable.
This is where
the one we discussed earlier. Now, what are we thinking here?
Let's see. I would go with adults.
Yeah, it'd have to be adults because it can be a very friendly game and everything. But then, as soon as you go to that negative side, everything's
the dark side of the force.
It's basically one of those kid-adult games. It's a very pretty, you know, fairy kind of game.
Designed to bring out the kid inside every adult.
Yeah, but it has its dark sides.
So, do we think it's a fairly clear-cut instance then?
Yeah.
That it would be for adults?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think the ones that would come under that very grey area would be your fighting games. Stuff like Street Fighter.
I think Street Fighter's for everyone. To be quite simple, there is no blood, there is no gore. It's
Nowhere
a
near
very
as full on.
basic
Yep.
fighting game.
Yeah. The only thing is the lore of Street Fighter. If you look at some of the characters, some of them are like transsexuals.
This is
Some
true.
of them do have a very dark
Okay.
side.
But in
Bison,
discussing
stuff like
that, then, some characters in Mario are allegedly transsexual or transgender.
Yes, you've got that. What's that?
Birdo.
Birdo. That's the
So
one I'm
if we
thinking
do
of.
go into the law, I mean, there's possible
And that's-
issues. But should that be classified in this modern day and age where
No.
we're well open and accepting of all of
No,
that?
exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like that's where you've got that conservatism versus literalism. This day and age, everyone's more literal. You would have this clear-cut yes or no kind of thing. Your Mortal Kombat, no. Your Injustice, yeah. There is no blood. I mean, it's
Yeah.
superheroes.
You
Kids
can,
love superheroes.
you can still have your action games and everything, just not the full-on blood and gore.
Yeah,
and
obviously there's going to be some games that will come into that grey area, but for 90% or more of games, it's going to be a clear-cut case, yes or no.
I'd agree.
Yep,
I'd
definitely.
absolutely agree.
You're definitely going to have some grey areas, but 90% will be.
And that's where the classification board will come in.
Yeah.
In the grey area.
Yeah, and that's where it should be left to the classification board.
Yep.
Clearly, there
Because-
should be these games that are coming in. You see like the name Mortal Kombat. People are going to straight away turn and go, affiliate Mortal
Adult.
Kombat with gore.
It's as
Adults.
simple as that.
Yeah.
You can have a 12-second look at any video footage from a game and go, yes, that's for adults. If there's anything out there, ladies and gentlemen, that might raise a grey area, please leave it in the comments on our Facebook or Twitter. We're happy to discuss it further.
Yeah, I'll actually go and check a lot of them out. If anyone's got that kind of stuff, I will go and play them and see where
they can
this
lie.
grey area could fall.
Yep, we're happy to hear that. And John Rao, if you're listening, which I hope you do find this video, now we're obviously not South Australia, but you do have a few voters sitting here in this room, so we're 100% behind you. Now, interestingly, Australia's moved into a new classifications age recently, and people don't know about it.
No, see, there was this big, huge thing about R18 and the fact that we didn't have it. We got it, and now, but like most of the things that happen, I could go on for ages
16th
about
Prime
that
Minister
kind of stuff.
in a week now, yes?
This is like, who Australia's next top Prime Minister.
I know.
But this is one of those things that's just
Vote
kind
one,
of...
double tap.
This is one of those things that have just kind of gone under the radar and no one's actually really heard about it unless you're some hardcore person who looks at these kind of things and sits out and searches this kind of stuff on the quest to find a better R18.
Yeah.
Which most of us aren't. A lot of us are happy that we've got the R18. A lot of us are oblivious to the fact that it's not the R18 that we actually wanted. But
This is
Well,
true.
yeah, I didn't know about the new system until Double Tap introduced me to it. So.
exactly right.
And ladies and gentlemen, it's the International Age Rating Coalition. Now, it is a trial program and it is restricted. It's restricted to mobile games and games that are online. So yes, that means for all of you ladies and gentlemen out there who enjoy your Steam games, this will have an impact. It is a rating system designed for it. Now, the IARC, as I will call it, is now in 36 countries, including Australia, and was created by, I believe, I don't want to be wrong here, I believe it was PEGI. So a lot of people will have seen PEGI, P-E-G-I.
Damn it, Peggy.
Yep, Game at PEGI, exactly, on a lot of different games, and that's who created this. And Australia has signed up. And basically what it means is that for any developer for a mobile game or anything like that, goes onto an online database, fills out a questionnaire with certain questions. Does your game contain any mythological creatures with their breasts out? Yes or no? God of War, yes. Mario Kart, I should hope not. I mean,
God, I hope not.
Yoshi and Bowser, let's not go there. For the worst example ever, yes or no, and then at the end it spits out ratings and classifications for a worldwide, all of the 36 countries who have submitted. Now, on the face of it, it sounds like a great idea. What are your thoughts, Jimmy D?
It's one of those... I'll have to wait and see what it actually does properly.
Yep, the waters, see how it goes.
Yeah,
Which is why we're on a pilot program.
It's good because it'll cut a lot of content. A lot of games are half-assed. Just basically there to show a pair of boobs.
Which obviously on
There are a lot. There are surprisingly
on the
a lot
Play
of
Store
games.
alone, there are a lot.
Yeah, there are a lot of games that just basically do that.
And there's a time and a place for that, just not necessarily all the time.
There's a time and a place. It's called in your bedroom with your laptop and a box of tissues.
Wow, alright, so this conversation got away from us. Ladies and gentlemen, So, would it surprise you in the room right now to hear that Australia, under this new system, as of, I believe, March this year, has already banned 400 plus games?
400.
400 plus games.
Me and you were actually talking about this a while back, and some of the games that were on that banned list absolutely baffled me.
Now, ladies and gentlemen out there, go have a look at www.refused-classification.com. Now, I don't know how reliable this website is, but it is more than fascinating to look at. It has a breakdown of all of the 400 games that have been refused classification. The caveat, as I said earlier, is that they are mobile or online games. They are not for physical release.
In saying that, it's not like your digital release copies either. It's more, your online only.
And it's to cater for, obviously, the burgeoning
Mobile gaming
industry, which is fair enough. You need a speedy, quick, reliable form for ratings, but as we said earlier, there's a possibility for yes or no, basically. Let's talk a little bit about my favourite game, my game that I nearly cried about that was refused classification under the system. Nail Art Jigsaw.
What?
Yep, Nail Art Jigsaw was refused classification.
Why?
Why? Tell us.
There wasn't a reason given.
There wasn't a reason, it was just banned.
Yeah. Now that's part
This was actually the one that you were telling me about.
This is the most interesting one. So Nail Art Jigsaw, publisher and production company being Jigsaw World, and it was banned on the 11th of the 7th, 2015, so this year. Now, it's a variety of puzzles in different game modes, and it requires you to have patience and skill to win, according to the blurb, with a variety of different nail art.
I can't see anything bad enough for this to be, unless it allowed you to add your own content.
Yeah.
I cannot see...
Unless you're drawing a pair of boobs on some nails.
Which would then depend on the questions and how you answered them on the IARC website, would it not?
Yeah, and that's the only thing I can actually put this down to as to why it's been
Someone's
banned.
messed up with the questions.
Someone's really messed up with their questions.
Yes. Now, obviously, this isn't one of the games I was looking forward to. I was being a little bit sarcastic. But it is fascinating, nonetheless, to see something like that was banned. Now, on the list, I don't have a complete list here. I go to that website, have a look. There are a variety of games that, fair enough, I don't want to play. I don't give two shits about them, to be honest. They look pathetic. And they're just an excuse to show boobs. Fair enough to ban those, have at it. But we're up to 400 now. To me, 400 is quite a startling number, but we look at the sphere that we're in once again, and it's about a high publishing rate and a low cost to publish them. The games.
Nowadays you can create your game with Flash and release it on a mobile thing through the App Store or through the Android Play Store, and bam, there's your instant money income, especially if you are putting just a pair of boobs in it or something like that. It is going to generate some kind of revenue for you, which, I do understand why they've had to put in some kind of, rating system and a quick rating system to battle that kind of stuff.
It's completely understandable. Now, in an opinion piece published by the ABC Online by Brendan Keogh, hopefully I haven't butchered your last name, he states that there's been a rise in high-speed internet and the lowering price of video game development tools.
High-speed internet's a bit debatable.
Yes, we'll get to that in another podcast. It's seen an explosion in game production over the last decade, which, we all see. If we're on the Android store, we see that. Every day.
You've got a new top 200 every day.
Oh yeah,
and that's 200 every day, top 200. Which when you think about it, if me, you, and Double Tap here created a game each, there's 3 games for that day. We could go out and create another 3 games the next day.
Yep.
So you can see how it has blown up.
It used to take a lot of work to create a game, and these days they can just spit them out.
Good game still takes a lot of work.
Yeah, yes, of course.
Yes, but
these games that they're on about with this rating system don't take too long to make.
Couple of hours and a bit of artistic skill, and you've got yourself whatever
quick
you want.
Google search.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. Now, in the article, obviously, he does put out a very good opinion. He does explore the entire landscape, so I don't want to misquote him here. But he does state, in the heading at least, that in the title, gamers shouldn't panic about the sharp but misleading spike in the number of banned games in Australia, and his basis for that basically is the increase in accessibility, which is fair enough. But then we flick over and we go to a Kotaku article. Now, this article was published by Marc of Kotaku on the 11th of March 2015. Now, that was the day after this IARC system came into place. So, obviously, he hadn't seen the effects being the 400 games. I would be very interested to see another article from him. I'm sure there's probably one out there about how it's going so far. And in this one, he states that Australian video game classification just took a huge leap forward. I dare say we took 2 steps back.
Yeah, I'll agree with that one.
Yeah.
I think it's a fair assessment at the moment. 400 games banned, including my favourite nail art Jigsaw being banned.
Yeah,
Where
really
else are we
disappointed about that.
I know.
I am going to be more disappointed when I see that the My Little Pony has been banned.
For all the bronies out there, I'm sure you will be upset, and that's fine.
Disappointment of the decade.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I will not be upset if they ban another Sonic the Hedgehog, because, you know, we don't want any more bad games.
Yeah,
anyway,
no.
Sorry about that one, man. I know that one cut deep, but sometimes the truth hurts.
This awkward silence is staying in the podcast. There are death stares, ladies and gentlemen. But we will talk about this in another podcast titled How to Save Sonic the Hedgehog. Stay tuned for that one. I'll be heading that discussion up.
God.
There seriously needs to be something done about it, because...
And I have some propositions for Sega to listen to, so we'll chat about that one. It's going to be a hard-hitting conversation.
Can we put him out to pasture?
No, we
it's
can't.
simple. Sega, listen to what he's got to say. It'll work. Trust him.
And you don't want him on your bad side.
The love I have for that franchise, we can save it. Employ me, Sega. Employ me now. So, in concluding this very long discussion, let's talk about our dreams for this system, for our classifications in Australia. Jimmy D, what are your thoughts? What are your dreams?
I don't want to see games banned from Australia.
There should be no reason to ban anything.
As bad as some of them can be, I mean, you've got your porn games and everything like that. As bad as some of them can be, and as much adult content as there can be, they shouldn't be banned. Why would you ban them when you can just sit there and put them in a different retailer? Don't give them to EB Games or anything like that. You know, sell those specific games over in Sexyland.
Yep.
People want those games. They will go to those stores. Hell,
Yep.
if you need to, sell them online only. You know,
Someone out there will want them and will play them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't ban them. I mean, you've got so many good games that are falling under this grey area of categories that are being banned, and, you know, it's upsetting to see a lot of games such as Mortal Kombat. It was Mortal Kombat 9, or, well, the original reboot of Mortal Kombat, on the PS3 that was banned originally and then got re-released. It took us so long to get one of these good games, and it was a great fighting game.
And during that period, there were a lot of people who imported it, which then was, I believe, banned
I was
by...
one of those people.
Yeah, and that was then banned by customs.
And then you got games like Left 4 Dead and things like that. Like Left 4 Dead was one of the ones that got banned and then had to change their content and then got re-released. And then once the new classifications came in, they had to resubmit it and then put the content back in. It's a pain in the butt for the developers as well as a pain in the butt for the consumers. It's like, if they really want, and they really want people to have these kind of games and have these, like, gain this revenue where it's going to, cut down piracy in Australia, they need to allow people to have access to these games in Australia. That'll cut down a lot of things. It's the same as, like, when you come into TV shows and stuff like that. But games in general need to have that access, because people are just going to pirate them. In this day and age, people are just going to sit there and go onto a site like Pirate Bay or anything like that, which I've never been on. That's a disclaimer just to make sure. But people are going to go on those kind of sites and just download it.
Shogsy, what are your wishes, hopes and dreams for this system?
I really like the sound of I'd really like to see the yes-no thing. It sounds like a really good idea, provided you get a clear view of what's kids and what's adults, provided it's very obvious which one goes which way, and if you do have those ones coming under the grey area, then you've at least got someone looking into it and going, okay, which way should it go, and checking out the extremes of game. With that example of Fable, because, like, sure, you do have that lovely, pretty side to it, but then, bam, next second you're, knee deep in blood, and you don't want that in a kid's game.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's fairly straightforward.
But that's the thing, like what you said last time, is you've only got to watch like 30 seconds of a game.
You really do.
And you can sit there and you can tell, that's probably not for kids.
Yep.
Or that probably is for kids. The only exception I could imagine would be if someone was to create a Happy Tree Friends game.
Oh God.
There's been things like that created Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yes,
Yes.
I would, yes.
Very kid-looking game,
Yes.
very adult game.
That
Oh,
might
yes.
be the grey area, but
You watch enough of the video or you look at their description. Obviously, they're going to have to submit a description of their game. They're not going to leave that kind of stuff out. Conker's Bad Fur Day actually did state that it is a child's-looking adult game. So, yeah,
I think it's
just
an
watch a bit of
ingenious
video,
system.
read the description, bam. Alright, not for kids.
I think it's an ingenious system.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
no, adult kid. Makes retailing a lot easier, makes packaging a lot easier, makes almost everything a lot easier. And that's exactly what we want in this system. We want games. We
Slap
want them
a
as
big-
fast and as hard as we can get them.
Slap a big red circle on it. Adults only. Done.
Done.
I think the only conditions for an adult's game would be to have a very tame cover.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that it can be sold in retail stores and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we basically have that now, though. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you don't see games with, people's boobs out
Yes.
on them, especially if they're sold in a retail store. Online's a different story, but, if they're in a retail store, they don't show that kind of stuff, and I think that does come down to their classifications, because, if someone sees that kind of cover, they're not going to sell it on
you're
the
going to have
shelves.
some kind of liability. Yeah.
What's your view on it?
I'm a big fan of the yes no. I'm, in fact, almost a proponent of the adult-child view. I think it's so simplistic that it might just work. And I think, yes, we're trialing the IARC system, but why not put out some other trials? If we're really up shit creek without a paddle, to Australianism, if we're really that bad off, let's start trying new things. Let's really experiment and experiment hard till we find something good. There's no point pussyfooting around anymore. We know as gamers in Australia, we're not happy. We know almost as voters now with our sixth Prime Minister and however long that we're really, really not happy and we're starting to really get cheesed. I think it's about time we start playing with this and play with it hard.
And I don't like cheese.
Exactly. And Shoggsie doesn't like cheese. So send all your cheese to P.O. Box 3142. The smellier the better, ladies and gentlemen.
God.
Oh man, if he ever got mail of old crumbly cheese, I think I would laugh so much. Please, someone do that to him.
We're going to wrap this up here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to us on Aussie Game Rants, as usual. Jimmy D, say goodbye.
Ta-ta, darlings.
Shoggsie23, let them know where you're going.
Catch you later, guys.
We're out of here. You can find us on Facebook at Aussie Game Rants. You can find us on Twitter at Aussie Game Rants. You can email us at aussiegamerants@gmail.com. And we'll talk to you next time.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.